track to find solutions.
5 events and 5 different winners is ample proof of the competitive nature of the special vehicle category in the ABSA Off-Road Championship, and nothing is likely to change on the Ford Motorride 400 in Limpopo. The race is round 6 of the ABSA series, and for competitors still harbouring championship hopes, every point scored on the final 3 events of the season is going to be precious. With one result to be dropped at the end of the season, title challengers will be working out a few calculations, and for some, a non-finish on any of the remaining events could be the end of the road. Overall and Class A standings, the father and son team of Nick and Ryan Harper in the Big Atlas Copco Bat have a comfortable lead over Shamir Varayawa and Siegfried Rousseau in their total motorsport quarter, as well as the chasing pack. But only 10 points separate the next 5 drivers and 4 navigators in the standings, and no one would bet against a 6th crew joining the band of winners. Motorride Bat crews Evan Hutchison and Akim Bergman and reigning champions Alfie Cox with Henny Tersteger have both tasted victory this season, along with Karl Heinz and Quinton Sulwald in the Sulwald Transport Zarko, as well as veterans Nandus Alberts and Colin Hunter in their Rapsa Bat, who won the Amatole 500. This season's winners will again be among the front runners, but you only need to look at the quality of crews who have not won to figure out that a 6th winner in 6 events is very much a reality. Former champ Varayawa and Rousseau spring to mind, as does Gary Bertolt, who's had a dreadful season so far with new co-driver Jeff Minnett in their Atlas Copco Bat. Colin Matthews and Alan Smith's Century Racing Bat look like potential winners. Naim Mosaji and Rayon Badyana in a Total Jimco have improved in leaps and bounds, and Clint Gibson in the Absolute Bat is also knocking on the door. You can also not remove from the equation the likes of another former champion, Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald in the Regent Racing Bat, Herman Sulwald and Mornay Moller in a Sulwald Transport Zarko, and Cully Sulwald and Paul Hellberg in their Sulwald Transport Zarko. Crews will relish a typically bushveld route, and it would take a very brave man to pick a winner this time round. Hendrik and Jan Krein, the 2nd Regent Racing Bat, lead Class B by a country mile. But now that their 4-event winning streak has been broken via a crash on the Amatole 500, other crews will be snapping at their heels. Bez Besaidnout and his nav, Johan de Bruin, in the 1st Adenko Bat will be back with Johan and Etienne Besaidnout in a 2nd Adenko Bat, also in with a shout. The danger men, however, are likely to be KwaZulu-Natal pair Marcus Taylor and Derek Keith in the JRE, who finally confirmed their potential by winning the Amatole 500. Gil Null and co-Sandra Labuskaghni and the Luke ATE Truggy will keep the other crews honest and will be keen to bounce back after a race to forget last time out. The Cries will carry the popular money, but could find themselves under some serious scrutiny. Class S was given a shake-up on the Amatole 500, with Glenn Gibson and Mark Whitehouse in the Absolute Ace-Co scoring a maiden win. That will have boosted their confidence, but championship leaders Richard Schilling and co-Chris Davies in the Plastotech Ace-Co, despite patchy recent form, look like a good bet in Limpopo. Nick Gosler and Richard Carolyn in the Kopanang Hotel Super Team Race-Co also come into the reckoning. A good 3-way scrap is on the cards, but the Schilling-Davies combo will be heavily favoured. For Gil Null and Sandra Labuskaghni and the Luke ATE Truggy, round 6 is all important. For Wim Gil, Sandra has made a big difference, and her age has certainly helped a lot.
A huge difference. I think she's very, very sharp, and with the GPS that came in, she reads everything. You know, these youngsters, they're up to scratch with all the new technology and stuff, and she's really brilliant, and I think she's made a big difference to the navigation side, and she's helping me a lot as well, and we're getting along very, very fine.
Have you taught her how to change wheels yet?
She can do it quite quickly with me. She doesn't like flat wheels, so she wants to get out of it as quick as possible.
And what about Sandra?
It's really interesting. I thought it would be a bit more scary than it was. But I think with an experienced driver like Uncle Giel, who I'm navigating for, he makes you feel so relaxed about being inside the car. We work together great as a team. I mean, he drove a single-seater for quite a while, so it makes navigating a pleasure. And I've had a bit of help from Robin Houghton and from my dad, who drives a car himself. So they've been coaching me and making it so much more easy for me, like a rookie, to get into the car and just like be relaxed.
Former SA champions Vos and Pitchford are thus on track to win the production vehicle category and this year's ABSA Off-Road Championship. Vos in the factory Nissan Navara scored his third win on the trot in the Eastern Cape to open up a huge 37-point lead in the drivers' overall championship. Vos has reeled off successive wins on the Sun City 400, the Toyota 1000 Desert Race in Botswana and the Amatole 500 to move well clear of teammate and reigning champion Hannes Grobler. The East London result took Pitchford, who missed the Toyota Desert Race because of overseas commitments, into a 12-point lead over teammate Francois Jordan in the Co-Drivers Championship. Third in the Drivers and Co-Drivers Champs are Cronje and Birkin, who threw away wins in Botswana and the Eastern Cape by crashing within a K of the finish while in the lead in both cases. There is a logjam in fourth place with Ford Racing Ranger crews of Harkus and Moore and Woolridge and Scholthammer tied with overseas pair Ivar Tollefson and Quinn Evans in a third factory Nissan Navara. They trail Cronje and Birkin by just 3 points and are 1 point clear of Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzar in the Century Property Development Nissan Navara. As is the case in the special vehicle category, anomalies in the allotment of points for overall and class finishes sees a slightly different picture in the Premier Super Production class. Vos and Pitchford still lead, but Harkus and Moore, with a 100% finish record, leapfrog Grobler and Jordan, with Toyota's Cronje and Birkin in fourth. They in turn have a 2-point lead over Corbett and Balzar, with Tollefson and Evans a further point in arrears. Only 9 points separate Harkus and Moore from Tollefson and Evans. Class D leaders Harold and Tian Kun in that Landy had a sorry time of it on the Amatole 500. For all that, they still lead Class D, but with a much reduced majority. The Kuns are actually only 3 points ahead of Ramon Besaidnout and Stefan Locke in the Toyota Hilux, with veteran Coetzee Labuschagne tied with Besaidnout in the Drivers' Championship. Next up are Yuri and Andre Duplessis and brothers Henry and Maurice Matten in the Ryobi Nissan Hardbody. Only 8 points separate the Kuns and the Zamatten brothers. After a dodgy start to the season, the Zamattens have reeled off 2 wins in a row and are now distinct threats in a close-fought championship. The demise on the Amatole 500 of Roacon Toyota Hilux pair the Barkhuizens and Castrol Toyota Hilux crew Brian Martin and Oki Fourie has eased the logjam in Class E. Jack Peckham has a perfect finish record this season and is now 10 points clear of Jannie Visser in the Team Barberspan Toyota Hilux for the Drivers' Championship. But Lucio Santoro, who sits alongside Peckham, succumbed to a bout of severe car sickness on the 500 and Peckham finished the event on his own. That put Yorks LaRue shares the Team Barberspan entry with Visser at the top of the Co-Drivers' Championship. The Barkhuizens now find themselves third in the driver and co-driver standings. Driver George is 11 points behind Visser and trails Peckham by 21 points. The picture is a little rosier for wife Sharon, who's only 1 point behind Santoro and 11 points behind LaRue. Martin and Fourie slipped to fourth on the log, with Thomas Rundle and Brian Roberts fifth in the Baden Tyre Services Nissan Hardbody. As is the case in the Special Vehicle Championship, competitors in the production vehicle classes also have to drop one result at the end of the season. This puts pressure on crews with 1 or 2 non-finishers already to their names. A solid second place on the recent Amatole 500 in the Eastern Cape has seen the father and son team of Nick and Ryan Harper tighten their hold on the special vehicle title chase on the ABSA Off-Road Championship. The Harpers and the Atlas Copper Bat have also been helped by the up-and-down form from other leading teams. The Harpers have opened up a 24-point lead at the top of the championship, with some tight battles going on right behind them. They are comfortably ahead of former champ Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau in the Total Motorsport Porter. Variawa and Rousseau are under pressure from some heavyweights in another former champ, Hutchison and Bergman, Amatole 500 winners Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter in the Rapsa Bat, and reigning champions Alfie Cox and Hini Tersteege in the second motorized bat, with a consistent Clint Gibson and his absolute bat in the top 5 in the Drivers' Championship. Variawa and Rousseau have a slender 1-point lead over Hutchison and Bergman, with Alberts and Hunter another 7 points in arrears. Gibson and Cox and Tersteege, who have been hit by 2 non-finishes in a row, are another 2 points behind. Because of variations in the allotment of points in the overall and class championships, the situation differs in the Class A standings. Here the Harpers are 16 points clear of Hutchison and Bergman and the Variawa-Rousseau duo, who are tied for second place. Gibson is third in the Drivers' Chaps, 5 points behind Hutchison and Variawa, with Herman Silwold fourth and former champ Terence Marsh and Alberts tied for fifth. Just 8 points separate the crews from second through to fifth. Among the co-drivers, Bergman and Rousseau are tied for second, with Hunter third. Peter Groenewald, who partners Marsh, is fourth, with Gary White, who shares the Rurikon back with brother David, in fifth. Another father and son team, Hendrik and Jan Kraai, lost their unbeaten record this season on the Amatole 500, but still have a healthy lead in Class B. The Regent Racing Bat crew are a whopping 37 points ahead of Johan and Etienne Besaidnout in the Adenko Bat, who have performed consistently all season long. A win in the Eastern Cape has lifted KwaZulu-Natal crew Marcus Taylor, a former SA champion, and Derek Keith into third place. They are just 2 points ahead of multiple SA champ Phil Nell and Sandra Labuskaghni, with Bez Besaidnout and Johan de Bruin a further point in arrears. Schilling and Davies with Gosler and Carolyn are the frontrunners in Class S, but both failed to see out the distance on the Amatole 500. That gave Gibson and Whitehouse in the absolute ace-go a maiden victory, but defending champion Schilling and Davies still have a very handy lead. With only 3 events left to run this season, crews at the sharp end of the championships will be well aware that having to drop one result at the end of the season could drastically alter some championship battles. Crews with a 100% finish record so far have the advantage, but there will be pressure on those who have already had 1 or more non-finishes to their names. In a special vehicle battle, the gloves will be off. However, if the Harpers get to the finish line in one piece, as their want has been this season, the race could be run. They lead by 24 points, and that's almost 1 whole win. Variawa and Rousseau need to keep the motorite lads at bay, and there's a lot more where that came from. The event headquarters will be at the Moropa Casino and Entertainment World in Polokwane, where documentation and scrutineering will take place on